Buddy,
Hello.
we got
Evening, fellas.
Mike Maldani. Oh, the other way. Ramona McKee, DJ Anderson. DJ Anderson. We're missing a couple nerds tonight. Mac's actually in the background. He has a little bit of technical difficulties where he's at, not a very good connection. So he's just going to be doing some producing from the background, and we are missing Jeff this evening. So I just wanted to pull up a couple of comments here and say hello to people. We have Gail from Bremerton, Washington at Kingsbury Crafts. We have Barb from MN Custom Made from North Central Minnesota. We have TMG Custom Design from Florida. And of course, we have Frank Dunn from across the pond there. Good evening, Frank Dunn.
I'd like to know what time it is for him.
I can't remember. I know it's like.
I wonder if he's 6 hours difference.
I know when he watches, he's like early morning for him. So
yeah, he's
always up late. And of course, we have Matt in the background here, and we have Letty's in the house, and we've got. Let's socialize it and craft saying hello. We have Dennis, and Frank is saying it's midnight there. So
midnight.
So 7 hours from ahead from where I'm at.
Well, thanks for hanging in there, Frank.
Yes.
Frank, are you allowed to stay up this late?
Frank's always a trooper and stays up late. So
indeed.
We are actually continuing our discussion from last week. We got in the talk about pricing on embroidery and all things that kind of go into the pricing and everything involved as far as costs, and trying to figure out what your individual pricing is based on, and how you can figure out how much you want to make per hour, per quarter hour, however it is that you figure it out. Well, we got into the discussion just seeing how many different aspects there are to get that number that you're needing to make a profit. There's also there's always that question that are in the groups and pretty much every group out there, the Discord chats and everything else. Basically, how do I charge? It's the dreaded $1 per 1,000 is kind of the going thing that everybody says as kind of a starting rate. That's kind of from years and years and years ago. That's not something that you should probably want to base your pricing off of. But it's basically, it's individualized. It's to your particular company. How many heads you're running is a big factor. If you are, a one-man show, if you have employees, everything involved is a big factor. So just to recap a few things that we went over as far as like, if you're going to decide to do wholesale pricing, if you're going to do, semi-wholesale pricing, I know Mike has a couple of different pricing ranges depending on his customer and the order sizes. And that's another thing too. Size of orders. When you are using multi-head machines, you can get away with, giving those discounts for the bigger orders and still make that profit. We have a couple more people checking in here. We have Cindy. Hi, Cindy. We have Marissa. All right. So, is there anything else that anybody of you wanted to comment on or touch on that from last week before we get into some exciting stuff that Matt and Ramona have been working on this week?
I think one of the things that we really need to stress is that $1 per 1,000 stitch count doesn't really work.
Exactly.
If you're creating a design that has 5,000 stitches, that's $5. Is that all you want to make? Is that all you want to earn on that design? You're going to have to load it into the machine. You're going to have to set up the hoop. You got to buy the stabilizer, the thread, everything that's involved. But this job, you're stitching at $1 per 1,000. You're making the big money at $5.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. They'll make you broke.
Yeah.
one other thing that I wanted to touch on, I know we loosely talked about it, and it was something that we kind of get past, but I wanted to touch back on it. Um, the the decision to sell at a wholesale price. Um, the company that I manage production for, it is a larger embroidery house, the screen printing house. We are running at the 28 heads right now. Um, so we do have our contract customers that they sub their work out to us, that we do the embroidery and screen printing for them, and then we have the retail customers that generally they're ordering the garments as well as the decoration. Um, a few people have the point of view of, if the end customer is saying that they're going to resell them, they are classified as a wholesale customer. And in speaking with DJ, in his background, as far as the companies that he worked for, the company, if you correct me if I'm wrong, but the company that you did work for or work with was mainly a wholesale decorator. So you were dealing with, the promo companies, the, ad specialty companies that were subbing out the work. It's mainly these companies that just have kind of this staff of salespeople. They don't do the hands-on work. They just grab the orders, sub it out, and take it to their end customer. To me, that's wholesale. When you're reselling within the industry, they're buying the garments at a wholesale price. They're subbing out to an embroiderer or screen printer, to get work done. Typically, it's at a higher volume. Those are wholesale customers to me. Just because your end customer is saying, well, I want to sell these at a profit, or I'm going to sell these, so therefore it should be resale, to me doesn't classify them as a wholesale customer. I kind of look at it as, if I was wanting to do something that has to do with a school or soccer or something like that, a fundraiser or something like that, and I want to resell maybe packaged chips or packaged candy bars. If I walk into a Costco and I say, well, I'm going to resell these, Costco isn't going to give me a better price for those items because I'm reselling them.
Costco doesn't care.
Right. And that's the kind of the way I look at it, is just because, the coffee house that's selling their hats behind the counter, that they may sell one hat every 30 customers, is reselling them, they shouldn't get it at a wholesale price. I know our pricing, even at a retail price, unless someone's coming in and ordering, one or two hats. But if they are ordering 2-3 dozen hats that they plan on selling over the next 6 months, they're getting a price where they can still upcharge, still make a little bit of money when they are selling them kind of piecemeal. I guess the way I look at it is, your end customer has to understand too, if they are selling it one-offs, which you pretty much are, if you're selling that in that retail space and you're selling that one hat to the person that's buying a large coffee, they should be selling it at that one-off price, just the same as you would be at $25, $30, $35 a piece for that one hat. So when you are selling it to them at your 2 to 3 dozen price, that you may be at, $17, $18 a piece, they're still going to turn that profit. You're not having to sell that to them at a wholesale price, and they're not technically at that wholesale status, in my opinion. I know
just another thought to go with that. In my experience, the coffee shop that's selling you a hat, that is not their big money maker. They want you to buy coffee.
Right.
They want you to buy mugs. They want you to buy beans. Whatever they're selling, that's their primary money maker.
Yeah.
The hat that they're selling is, besides the fact that it's a walking billboard for the coffee shop,
exactly,
which, to their advantage to sell it, the hat is a perk of the coffee shop.
Right.
You guys want a t-shirt that has our logo on it? We'll be happy to get you one. Mm-hmm. But please buy this 20-pound bag of coffee beans.
Right. As far as I'm concerned, as a business owner, I would be, like you said, you're paying for advertising. So if you're walking into, Mike's shop and say, well, I don't know how well these are going to sell. Can I get a dozen of these hats first? And Mike says, okay, well, they're going to be $18 a piece. This style hat with an embroidered front. And you're like hemming and hawing, like, well, I wanted to sell them for $20. I'm not getting anything out of them. If you're breaking even, and now you have a walking billboard, like Ramona said, that's advertising there,
Yeah.
you're not losing money. It could only make you money.
Yeah,
But
if your business is a clothing brand, that's a different story.
exactly.
If you're supposed to be making money on this stuff, then that's a totally different ballgame, and you should be buying in a volume that is going to get you.
And that's I think that's the key is the volume.
Yeah.
Right.
Like 'cause my pricing, like because I did contract only work, wholesale only, and but if you just tried to order like 10, 15 pieces, it was a lot more expensive than just doing 36 and up. Because when you're doing contract work or wholesale work, you're wanting around 100 pieces or more.
Exactly.
You can actually make some money. So we would almost charge regular prices at the low volumes because it would be like telling the customer, you need to go out and sell more of these if you want to get it for a good price, because you can't afford to charge
we've actually
a low amount for a small quantity.
We've actually, over the years, when we've updated our price list, we've played with the idea of, as far as on the wholesale side, do we have a minimum cutoff that we won't do underneath, said 12 pieces or 24 pieces when it comes to contract pricing. But I think we decided to keep it there. But like you said, DJ, that cost on those items are quite a bit higher than if they do bring in the volume. And that is just kind of there where it's saying like, okay, we know X customers get to bring us an average of 100 pieces per job. They may have that job that's either a new job they're trying to get, bigger jobs from, or maybe it's a repeat job that they just happen to need this small order for this one time. And everybody involved can either make very little, break even, somewhere in there, just to make that customer happy. And, and hopefully that's going to lead to, the larger, bigger jobs for them to bring in. So there's definitely that area.
Ultimately, you need to remember that you, the operator, for that one job in a time frame, you're actually it's going to cost more to make that one item than it is once you have an efficient system set up to where, for example, you've got a hat on the machine, you've got one loaded, you've got one prepped, ready to go. And you do all of that while the machine is still running. So you haven't used any additional time because that's all being done while the machine is running and you can't do anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is where your wholesale cost is gonna come down, because you're running more efficiently rather than spending all of your time, your billable hour on one product.
And that's where, DJ is saying, as far as like, an embroidery house that's strictly doing wholesale orders, or, like us, we do both. But my opinion, if you are, new or a smaller business that has a single head, that's not the area that you're going to be wanting to offer wholesale prices. Because you want that wholesale to give you those big orders, and you're not going to be wanting to do 200 hats on a single head, especially as fast as these wholesalers typically want their turnaround time. But it's that decision where you need to make. And this does spark from a question from one of our, our group members who's, just getting into embroidery, and she has a single head. And it was in the conversation she had, she said, oh, it's a wholesale order for this coffee shop. And I'm like, wholesale coffee shop? That doesn't sound right. You're selling yourself short. Is what it is in my opinion. So
yeah, B2B sales is a real thing. But them getting a favorable price so that they can make a little bit of money on their end is a courtesy, not an obligation.
Exactly.
When I set up my price list, I started with setting up the price list for the work that I knew I was going to be doing the most of, which was B2B or like to clubs or whatever who are doing it so that, you know, their members could all wear, you know, the gear and all that kind of thing. And I made sure that price list made me the money I needed to make on, you know, to run my business. And then it's not discounted from a full pop retail. I inflated that price list to get my retail price list.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I know most of my work is going to be in the, you know, the B2B space where people are hoping for / expecting a little bit of a deal, then I'm going to set my prices up around there and then inflate for the onesie twosie, you know, Christmas stockings and stuff like that.
Right, exactly.
I do have one exception to this line of conversation, and that is going to be on a shop by shop basis. Is charity work.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Charity work.
There's always considerations.
If you have a charity that needs, you know, just 15 hats that they want to sell, you're going to make a decision whether to sell that at your lower price point. You still want to cover your expenses,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to make the decision to sell that at a lower price point or your full price point.
Yeah.
But the one thing, and we'll get into this here in just a little bit, the one thing I want you to remember, if this charity, and I don't remember what the legal term was, it's like it's a certified charity. It's a tax write-off charity.
Up here, it's a registered nonprofit.
Thank you. If it's a registered nonprofit, the funds that you would normally charge that you did not charge becomes tax deductible as a charitable expense. So if I normally sell a hat for $10, but I sold it to them for cost at $5, that remaining $5 becomes a charitable deduction. Keep your receipts, get something written from the charity, get a copy of their registration so you've got it in your paperwork. And Barb agrees. Barb says, yep, that's what she does.
Yeah.
Yep. So keep that in mind when you're doing charity work. It's something that pulls at the heartstrings and does good. You know, you're doing a good thing for your community, but you're still taking care of yourself.
Correct. And there's you know, speaking of donations and as far as, you know, a donation is different than a sponsorship too. You may have teams or little league organizations or whatnot that are asking, or, you know, golf tournaments that they bring up, you know, will you sponsor my tournament? Will you do this? Will you do that? And that's where, you know, just giving it away free is probably not the smartest thing to do. But if you do want to sell it at a discount price, that's where your company has an opportunity to have a walking billboard of your work. Because typically what we do, if there is a sponsorship, like, you know, there's some local organizations that we do some sponsorship for on a couple of times a year, that, you know, they have a parade at the end of their thing and they have signage of people that are sponsoring. So, you know, your logo is going to be out there in signage that people, it's actually it's a charitable animal rescue and horse therapy thing. But that's an opportunity to say, yeah, I could help you out at this cost, you know, whether that it's at your cost, you're not losing any money, or making just a little bit, that, you know, not the amount that you want to, but it is going to get you advertising in the long run. So yeah. There's
and remember, just as a side note, tuck your business card in to everything you give away. That way, whoever gets it's got your business card. So with that, should we go into our business expense worksheet?
Yes, we should. Actually, I'm going to post a link here if everybody wants to go to that link that I have posted there. It's in the show notes below, and download the form. We're going to be talking about this. Is something that Ramona and Matt have been working on this week, and Matt has created this nifty little PDF that you actually could enter information on. And let me get that opened up here. And share it with you guys.
So, just a little background on this. Back 100 years ago, when I worked in the corporate world, I worked as in the accounting department. I have, and remember, I said this is 100 years ago. I have not used all of this knowledge for a long, long time, so it's kind of sketchy. But I have a degree in accounting and business administration. Some of it still clicks, some of it is still around. And this is the same sheet that I use and I have been using for years for all my little business ventures that either worked or didn't work. And what happened is I gave it to Matt and he turned it into this beautiful, editable PDF where you just pop in your number and at the bottom it tells you what you need to know for your monthly expenses. So I hope everybody takes advantage of this and downloads it, pops your numbers in there, and use this. It's a good tool.
I'm excited to run through it with my numbers and find out how badly I've been undercharging for 5 years.
And now, just to go with this form, this document strictly calculates the dollars you have to make to cover your expenses, your overhead expenses, your utility, your phone, your insurances, your security, wages, your equipment. That's all this is going to do, is tell you how much you have to make to cover those expenses.
Right. This is your break-even point. So from there, you need to decide on how much you want to make per hour, per quarter hour, whatever it is that you figured out to, and then price your pricing off of that. So it's because your hard fixed cost is what you want to basing everything off of. Everything above that is how much you want to make. And a lot of times too, it depends on what area you're in. Part of the country, part of the state, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, if you're in a big city, a lot of times a little research of what your competitors are doing gives you a kind of a broad idea of what people are pricing, especially if you're new to the industry. You can kind of snoop around and get the cost or the pricing of what your competitors are doing. But as far as what you want to do is your particular costs are involved, get that hard number and go up from there as far as what you want to make per hour.
I want to put a challenge out there to everybody watching, because as I understand it, we're going to continue this conversation next week.
Yes.
With what happens after you know how much you got. I want to challenge everybody to take this, fill it out, find out at the very bottom. I don't want to know any of your details, but at the very bottom, it has your minimum rates.
Yep.
At the very bottom, and I work on a quarter-hour timetable, but it's got minimum rate for a half hour, what you need to earn in that half hour, what you need to earn in an hour. I want to challenge everybody to find out what their minimum rates are, and then we'll compare notes next week. Because the point I want to make is that what my minimum is going to be different from what everybody else's minimum is.
Correct.
Because of what my expenses are and my location. So that's my challenge.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah, this definitely isn't the whole story.
And
There's
if you see the note below, if you do go through this, we had a little delay there. Sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, I was just pointing out that there's still more work to do after we get this per hour number to get to the how much per item, how much per stitch, however you want to break it down. This is only a small part of the puzzle.
Yep. This is
exactly
just the start. We got to cover your expenses first.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Before we can figure out what's going next.
after you run through this with us, this week, next week, take the week to run through this, play with it a little bit, and that note there below. If you do see anything that you might think help to add, or maybe something that Matt and Ramona forgotten on this that they hadn't thought of, email Matt and he'll definitely get that added to this PDF. But this is, like Ramona was saying, it's a fillable PDF. So as soon as you open it, everything that you see here that is fillable, and it actually starts calculating it for you. So first off, the first question is going to be if you are conducting business from home or commercial. So for instance, if you are working out of your home and say you're using 200 square feet of your house and it's a 2,000 square foot house, so you're using a percent of your home or 10% of your home. So that's going to base your calculations going forward off what you're using from your house. So say like your mortgage or rent is $1,500. I'm just going to be plugging in arbitrary numbers here.
Numbers in there.
Yeah, just this is something that you're going to have to dig out your paperwork and find them. This is based on your monthly expenses. So
right.
Yeah, you're going to have to kind of gather up your information together and make sure that you have all the correct information to have this be accurate as far as you're concerned.
And the distinction between a commercial location, a brick and mortar, and the home location, I was don't shortchange yourself. When you're using space in your home for business, you do not have that space available to you for personal use. So you have actually lost square footage in your home to your business. Your business owes you for that.
Right.
You should make your business pay you for that. And that's why we do the square footage calculation. That also, again, come around tax time, your accountant is going to want to know how much of your home expenses were used for business.
Exactly. So as you can see here, as you plug in the numbers, it's already calculating for you. This is when you go into your equipment, if you're leasing, payment, or future purchase, if you're planning on putting money away for future purchases on machinery or equipment. So say like you have a monthly lease of $800 on one machine. Oops. In this scenario, I have a Tajima. And I have a Paradigm. How about that?
And you have a sublimation printer.
I have a heat press.
Yep, and you have a heat press. That's all part of this, people. Don't forget the little pieces.
So printer.
Now maybe you don't have the printer right now. Maybe the printer is something you want in 12 months. So you're going to put that number in there to find out how much per month you need to save to go towards your printer that you're going to buy.
Right, exactly. Say you're paying for your software license for WorldCom a month. Any expense that is going towards equipment or a asset that you are purchasing for the company, you are going to want to include that into your calculations here. So now that I'm set with all my equipment and software, we have general purchases, business administration, production. This isn't going to be blanks for you because that's cost of goods sold. That's going to be something different. We'll probably touch on that a little bit more next week because that's going to be a hard cost that depending on what the garment is, and you're going to make your choice as far as what percentage you want to mark up the actual garments. This is just your cost as far as how much it is to run the business on a day-to-day basis.
Now, for me, in this box here, my general purchases, I have an Amazon account that I do a lot of ordering through. So I know on a monthly basis, because I pay it off every month, I know how much I spend with Amazon for my business. And then, of course, we're going to want averages, but that'll take some time to build. So just give yourself an idea of what your averages are. I also know that I spend $50 a month on insurance. I spend $130 a month for my bookkeeper to come in and do my books for me because, who's got time for that? Um, all the things all the little things, 8,000 in Amazon. Reddy was just saying 8,000 in Amazon.
That Prime's going to get you, yo.
Yeah.
Every time.
She also had another point. She's got a note here that says, don't forget membership fees to embroidery groups, trips, educational expenses.
Exactly.
Those are all going to be in your general purchases. But yes, you have to add all that in so you can find out what your monthly expense is.
Yes, even if it is something where you're planning on doing a trade show once a year, and sometimes you're gonna have to average these things. And if you've gone to a trade show before, and with airfare and hotel and meals and whatnot that you're gonna go, it costs me $2,000 to go to a show. So you're gonna want to average that out. If you're only planning on doing once a year, average that out for the amount of months that the expense throughout the divide it up into the amount of months. So we could just say trade shows, say $100 if you're going once a year and it's costing you $1,200, and help Matt fund $5 a month.
Alms for the elderly.
Exactly. I had to add that in because Matt's throwing his 2 cents in there. So yeah, this is gonna get to a point again, just to kind of recap. A home, as far as if you're doing a home business, it gives you their percentage. If you are going commercial, you're going to be using 100% of your commercial space, so it is going to change things. Your fixed expenses as far as rent, mortgage, property taxes, etc., utilities, phone. You have your equipment, your leases as far as your software licensing, your equipment, your embroidery machines, heat press machines, screen printing machines, printers, and whatnot. Whether you're a monthly cost as far as if you are making a monthly lease cost, or if it's just something that you paid outright or you're planning on paying outright that year. Then we get into the general purchases that we're talking about. If you have an Amazon monthly expense, if you have accountant meals, trade shows, buy Matt a coffee type thing. So that's going to give you your grand total monthly expenses. So from there, you are going to want to use this number to kind of break it down to, like Ramona said, whether you want to go to an hourly expense, so you can find out your hard number of what you need to make per hour to break even, and go up from there. Or if you are in a service type industry like Ramona is, digitizing or something like that. Some people do quarter hour, half hour, whatever it is. It's just a matter of mathematics now. You have a hard figure, so even if you wanted to do it per day, and you know that you're going to be running 8 hours every single day, I know you're not doing 8 hours a day. You're doing more like 28 hours a day.
Now, go to page 2. Don't forget your wages.
Yes. All right. So if you are operating a company that does have employees, machines, as far as the machine wear and tear, hours per week, how you're going to be running it. A lot of people do have kind of set schedules as far as, I'm going to dedicate my day 2 hours to bookkeeping, product ordering, and the rest of the time I'm going to be running my machines. If you do have those employee names, position.
And you may be the only employee in your business, but you want to get paid.
Exactly.
How much do you want to get paid?
That's absurd.
How many hours a week are you working in your business?
Exactly. So, for instance, if I'm making $30 an hour when Matt's making 8. So those are going to be your monthly expenses on your employees as far as your payroll. Let's see here.
And I
So,
just want to
yeah, it
clarify
goes
with the
through.
machine hours, that's a number that's going to carry over into next week. You're going to need to know how many hours the machine is available to run. Whether it runs all those hours or not, you need to know, is there somebody in-house that can run that machine from X to X number of hours per day or per week? So that's just a number. We just need a number, and then it will carry over into next week.
Right, exactly. And a couple of things that people were pointing out as far as expenses in that general expense tab, again, that we were talking about up here, general purchases. Matt did point out that, you forget about things like website fees and Etsy fees and whatnot that you're paying on a regular basis. Woody did put out there mileage if you are using your vehicle to either deliver orders or for work related things, deliveries, equipments, anything that you are using or doing or spending to run your business is going to apply to this form. So,
Does anybody have any questions about this yet?
Let me know if any pop up, Ramona.
I personally want to thank Matt for filling in the blank space on the sheet. He put my name on there, my logo on there for digitizing. I'd be happy to help people.
Yes, Matt did do a little free advertising for us. Thank you, Matt. Matt did do a lot of work on this form. I think it's awesome. I've been seeing the progress that he's been doing as he shares it as he goes, and Matt's brilliant at this stuff. I love that we have one of our members here that can do this type of stuff, because you give him an idea and he runs with it, and next thing you know, he's like, oh, here's a whole full-blown website for you. But yeah, he did put a lot of work in this in building off of the ideas that Ramona had as far as calculating your expenses. But if you are in need of digitizing, hit those links for Ramona and I. We'd be happy to help you. But yeah, so it is broken down. All your hard expenses, all your monthly expenses, your rent, your payroll, if you're writing off part of your house that you're using, and then just get to break it down to your monthly business overhead, your salaries, and then your grand total monthly expenses. This is where, of course, that's a little inflated.
Now this is gonna be a little bit of work, people, but don't not do it because you're afraid you can't find all the numbers. You can't find all your numbers. Find the numbers you can and throw them on this form. It's a start, and then just make a habit of keeping your numbers. You're in business now, whether you're working out of your home or you are, what is that term that Eric Campbell uses? That you are a prosumer.
Prosumer, yes.
You are here. You are putting yourself out there to help finance whatever you want to do in your life. And you can't do that if you don't know what the numbers are. And this is one tool to help you get some numbers.
Exactly. So as you can see, breaking it down, it's giving you your grand total monthly expenses. It's going to break down to, and this is where that machine time running is, how many hours per week. Because, if you're going to base this on a 40-hour work week and you're working 60, then you just got to realize you're going to get paid for 40 hours at the rate that you decide on. So if you want to base this on that, you're going to be putting in work 60 hours a week, and that's the one to calculate it. You got to make sure that, that is going to be based on that time that you do put in this area here, as far as the total weekly hours, because it's all going to be based on the broken down per hour.
Yep. If the machine's not running, you're not making money.
Exactly. And Matthew added here, I just uploaded version 2 that explains the hand calculations. If you prefer to print it out or expand on it, just check the link again and got to you on your email. So
Matt's so
I just
techy.
I know. I mean, what have we been talking about it for the last 20 minutes and he's already got version 2? That's crazy.
I think we all need
He's
a
stuck on a
Matt
farm with terrible internet. He's got nothing better to do.
Exactly. Even with terrible internet, he's got it all worked out.
That's
all right.
awesome. The whole nerd team. You guys
So
are
yeah,
all
it's broken down at the
with corrected spelling.
I know. I just wrote Matt a note that he misspelled here.
Minimun.
Minimun.
I don't know. I kind of like it that way.
So in this scenario, if I have all these numbers accurately broken down, it looks like I'm going to have to make $99.34 per hour to break even.
Based on these numbers.
Based on these numbers,
Crazy
yes.
numbers. Now, to be realistic, my calculation, and let me just pull that up again because I'm a rounder. I round things, and I don't round down. I always round up. But my fee per quarter hour, based on my expenses, I need to make $4.34 every 15 minutes that my machine is available to run.
Exactly. Yeah, mine are a little bit inflated just because I was throwing in numbers. I don't have any of this number stuff in front of me, so that's why I was just plugging in stuff just to show you how it worked. But yeah, It's going to give you that minimum number an hour that you need to make again to break even, and then you need to decide then how much per hour you want to get paid to make that profit. So, and Matt says version 2.1 now out with the correct spelling. So two versions right off the bat as we're talking here.
But they both work. Whether
Yes,
you're working with minimum rates or minimums rates.
Exactly.
Rates.
Minimums rates or minimum rates, they're all the same as far as when it comes to the mathematics. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a quick, go through as far as, let's do it one more time just in case anybody is joining us late. This is a expense worksheet that Matt worked out as far as to try to find your.
Sorry, Justin. Show them the drop down, because there is an option to do for a brick and mortar if you're working outside the home, if you're working in a shop or in a storefront.
So the difference here is if you are working out in your home, you're going to be wanting to only put in the square footage of your home that you're using for your business. Of course, I mean, I guess someone could have every bit of their house working as far as their business, but typically when you're working from home, it's either a bedroom or a garage or half the house that you're doing for your business. So you're going to want to put
or 2 bedrooms, a living room, and a dining room.
Exactly. But you can do the drop down and switch it to a commercial, and of course, commercial is going to be 100% because it is a brick and mortar that you're using for your business. So location of your business is your starting point. You're going to have your fixed expenses per month as far as like your rent, your mortgage, your taxes, your insurance, and utilities, etc. You're going to have your equipment expenses as far as if you're purchasing equipment, future purchasing, planning on purchasing equipment, leasing, lease payments, software licensing, and whatnot. These are going to be your miscellaneous expenses. Say if you do gas per month, I think gas right now is $500 a week. The rates that they're at. Gas, right? Gas if you're making deliveries or if you're picking up supplies or whatnot. These are going to be your general expenses, and this is going to probably be different for every single person, depending on how much you do outside of the house and how much all the expenses you're going through. Then you get into the actual production. Inside your business, you're going to want to work out how many hours per week that you're going to be working on your machines. If you do pay any employees, and the expenses there, and it's going to automatically calculate. And this is a fillable PDF. Any of the areas that are wanting information is where you're going to be wanting to fill in that information. It's going to break down the monthly business overhead, and it's also going to break it down to the monthly expenses, which going by the number of hours that machine's running, it is going to divide it up and give you your hourly wage that you need to make to break even. So this is where we suggest that you yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to get too far ahead because we got a lot to cover next week. But just to give everybody a little bit of a preview, if that full hour was $100, I just did the math at $100 per hour to break even. Mm-hmm. And if your machine is capable of 900 stitches per minute, that works out to $1.85 per 1,000 stitches. Just to break even. Right. And that's if you're running at a full 900 stitches per minute all hour, which we're not.
Right.
We're not running all hour. Number, there's thread breaks. There's color changes. There's
and Mike, to go with that number does not include the cost of the garment that you're working on. Okay.
Yep.
It does not include any markup of that garment.
Nope.
It does not include markup for your hour.
It doesn't include any profit.
No, it is strictly to make sure that you cover your bills.
Right.
So
that's it.
That's why, like I said, I'm not trying to get ahead of anybody, but that's why the tried and true dollar per 1,000 is complete BS.
Right. Yeah, and this is information that you're going to gather as far as your base on your pricing, and from there you're going to want to know how much this is going to give you how much you need to break even, so you're not losing money. From there you're going to decide how much you want to make as far as profit. Then you start getting into the side of your cost of goods sold, how much you're going to be purchasing things at. Best bet is to get those wholesale accounts at the big names in the industry: Sanmar, SNS, Auto Hats, Richardson, all those the big suppliers out there. So you are buying them at a wholesale price, so you can mark them up to a retail price. From there, this is all the information. Mike did make a comment last week: when you are pricing to the customer, I don't think it's a good idea to say, okay, well, my embroidery per hour is going to be this, and then my garment's going to be this, and then this is information that this is for behind the scenes. This is behind the closed door. Yep. You're making these calculations to say, all right, this design or this job is going to take me X amount of time. I need to make this amount of money. I'm marking the garments up this much. Add. It's going to be $25 per hat. It's going to be $18 per t-shirt, whatever it may be. And that's going to cover that end price that you're giving to that customer. That's going to include all your costs, all your profit, all your cost of goods sold. So it's the ingredients to get you to that point to be a profitable business.
One of the things that I see a lot is people are saying, they say, well, I don't want to charge my customer for the digitizing, but I need digitizing. It's an expense, people. Ultimately, it is an expense of your business. The other thing I see is they're in business, but they're not legal. They haven't gone through any of their state certification to get that little placard with the EIN number on it. Very, very important. Do you know how much that costs? Nothing. Now you do if you have to register locally in your community. Mine was $40, and I had to run an ad in a paper because I was doing business as under an assumed name. So I had to run an ad in paper for 3 weeks. It was a local labor news. I think it cost me $20.
Right. It's
a business expense.
Very minimal. And when it comes to, again, this is getting into another subject matter that, you're going to have your differences in opinion, but I know I tell my customers, As far as digitizing, a lot of people, they use it as a selling point where they say free setups, or they have a certain price point. If you order X amount of dollars, or if you order X amount of garments, they give a free setup. It is a cost that to you. Not only is it the cost from your digitizer, so if you're paying me $25 to digitize your logo, but you think about the time it is for you to sit down at your computer. Well, not even that. Discuss with your customer the design, any changes that need to be made. Sitting down at your computer, filling out my form, sending it to me, waiting for the design, getting it off your computer. It's all time. It's all money. So my suggestion to customers is, if you're not selling it to them at least at my rate, at my cost of my digitizing, to break even on the digitizing cost, add a little bit just to cover your expenses. I know a lot of embroiderers, they'll actually upcharge it quite a bit, because it's part of the service that they're supplying. Just the same as you're marking up the hat, you're marking up the digitizing. It's part of the process. So don't sell yourself short. All of this is based on trying to make sure that everybody involved, everybody listening to us, you're making a profit. You have a profitable business. You stay in business. And you make money doing something that you enjoy. So it's just this, it's the building blocks to make sure that you are making money in your business.
And that ties into something Letty was just saying here. And she's talking about digitizing. We were just talking about digitizing. But any of this whole PDF, any of the different subject matters, it's going to be different for every shop. Nobody's shop is the same. What we're talking about today, this form that we've put together, this is not a catch-all. This is not a smoking gun for every shop. You're going to have to play with it. You're going to have to figure out what works for you in your shop, in your market, with your customers.
Right.
It's not that simple blanket, X number of dollars per stitches.
Yeah, at best, anything that we're talking about here can be considered a guideline. What works in my shop doesn't work in Justin's, doesn't work in Ramona's. We're all different, but there's things that are kind of universally applicable, like figuring out your costs, and things like that. But nobody's costs are the same.
No.
So and how you do business is going to be different. Some people might never mention the word digitizing to their customers. Some people don't even consider that a thing.
Exactly.
So,
and whether you're on the invoice, whether you want to just roll it into the cost of the hat, if you want to itemize it, saying setup fee or digitizing fee, whatever it may be, all of it's just to cover your cost and make sure that you're turning your profit. And other than maybe it might be the same between me and Ramona if we're ordering a flex fit hat from Sanmar. Typically we're going to be paying the same price depending on the quantity that we're doing as far as the shipping and whatnot. But little inside baseball information: if you're a big buyer, you're going to get better prices from even those companies. So,
and if you are selling in quantity, I'm selling one hat at $25. You're selling 100 hats at $20 each.
Right. Exactly. So
even though we spent the same money on the hat, of course you bought more of them than I did, but your pricing is going to be different.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So this is definitely the building blocks. I think every other day I'm seeing a question, whether it's in our embroidery nerd group or other embroidery groups that I belong to. It's like a picture of a sewn logo, or even just like a picture of a logo on a piece of paper. How much would you charge to put this on a hat? That's just, it's so arbitrary to ask something like that. And I understand people. Typically it's the newbies to the industry, and I understand they're just trying to get an average idea just so they can understand how to make money. But there's too many things involved for Mike to see that post and be like, charge $30.
Yeah. We get it all the time. We get people asking, how much do you charge for hats before they even sent us anything to look at, like even a napkin sketch. Yeah. Like I don't know.
You're
got
not
no
Walmart
idea.
where somebody's already figured out all this pricing and all of this, and they,
Yeah.
they put it up on the rack, and all the customer has to do is go in and pull it off the shelf.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mr. Walmart himself just didn't look at a t-shirt and say, I
Yeah.
think I'm going to charge $7 for this. They've done all this work beforehand. They know how
Yeah.
much it costs for them to buy it and how much to run their business and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And every single product in their store is set to make sure that they make a certain amount of profit above their expenses.
I can almost guess that they have hundreds of employees just dealing with cost of goods.
Exactly. And quick note before we go here, Barb says that's why I quote all jobs individually. Could be a smart thing to do, especially if you are new, if you're smaller, or if you just feel more comfortable that way, to make sure that you're not just throwing out numbers. A lot of times I've even fallen into that where, because I've been doing it so long, if someone says like, oh, talk to Justin, he does shirts. And someone says, well, how much would it be per shirt if I ordered X amount and has this many colors? I could rattle off in my head, it's probably going to be $12 a shirt. But when they actually sit down to it and they actually come in that following day and they show me all that's involved in the order, and I'm like, well, you didn't say this, you didn't tell me that there's going to be a sleeve and a back. That's going to be more money. So yeah, quoting per piece can definitely be a bonus to make sure that each individual thing is going to be covered.
All right.
Well,
just to throw that challenge out there again, I'd like to see everybody just take the form, fill it out, and come back with your minimum number, what you need to cover your expenses.
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting to see how different we all are.
Yeah, and don't forget to drop a like on the video. Let us know how excited you are for next week when we carry this the next step. And if you think anything pricing wise that you want covered that we didn't do today, or you think might be valuable information to you as we move into the next portion of this, make sure you put it in the comments either on YouTube or Facebook. We're going to go through them all.
Make your comments.
Try to catch everybody's needs.
Look at the comments below. Also, Matt did drop an email address if there is something specific to the form that you think need added. If you do have questions or comments that you want us to touch base on next week, of course, follow us and like us and get those notification bells on YouTube. Follow us and like us on Facebook. If you haven't joined the Facebook group, the Embroidery Nerd Facebook group, make sure you answer all 4 questions. We do read those and make sure that those spammers or bots or anybody else is not getting into the group. We do take the security of our group very seriously. We have our 2 moderators here that are helping us out on that. But I want to thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Excited to continue this conversation over to next week, and hopefully we'll have a full staff next week. I know 3 of our nerds tonight had some technical difficulties with their Wi-Fi and whatnot. So we will see you all.
Frank, you go to bed now.
Yes, good night, Frank. Get some sleep. But we'll
be here, guys.
Let me introduce you. We have Ramona McKee from Quick to Stitch. We have Mike Maldoni, the Nerd in the North, from it's Tequila Teas. Is that correct, Mike?
Tequila Inks and Threads. Yeah, you bet.
That's right. And I'm Justin Armenta from jadigitizing.com, and we'll see you all next week.
Night, everybody.
Night all.